He wasn't looking for anyone that morning. Just a seat in the back of the lecture hall. Half awake, coffee in hand. The sunlight cut through the window. Soft, golden. And that's when he saw her. She was sitting by the window, earphones in, sketching something in her notebook, a calm in the middle of all that noise. He didn't know her name. Didn't need to. Because in that small, ordinary moment, something in him shifted. He watched the way she smiled to herself, like she carried her own little world. He wanted to know what was in it. Every day after that, he sat a few rows behind. Not to stare, just to be near that quiet kind of peace. She never noticed. At least, he thought she didn't. But once she looked up, right at him, and smiled. And that one smile was enough to make the whole room fade. He didn't know it then, but that moment would be the first line in a story he'd carry for years, a story that would end with a voice note, and everything he never said. It started with a group project, a random pairing, fate pretending to be coincidence. She laughed when he mispronounced her name. He laughed too, just to hear it again. Days turned into late nights, study sessions that became conversations about everything but the project. Coffee cups stacked beside their laptops. Screens glowing, music low, two souls slowly sinking in silence. She talked about her dreams, to travel, to see the ocean, to feel something bigger than routine. He just listened. Every word felt like a secret he wasn't supposed to hear, but didn't want to forget. Sometimes she'd fall asleep mid-sentence, and he'd stay awake, just watching the way her hair fell across her face. In those moments, the world outside didn't exist. No deadlines, no noise. Just her breathing, and the sound of his heartbeat trying not to give him away. He told himself it was friendship, that it was fine to care this much. But deep down, he already knew. This wasn't friendship. This was the beginning of something he wouldn't be able to undo. It wasn't love at first sight anymore. It was love in slow motion, the kind that crept in softly and stayed quietly. They started walking home together after class. Same path, same time, every evening. Sometimes they talked, sometimes they didn't. But even in silence, it felt full, like words weren't needed to understand. She'd steal his hoodie when it got cold. He'd pretend not to notice, but he always brought an extra one the next day. When she smiled, he smiled too, like her happiness had gravity, and he couldn't escape it. But feelings are heavy when they have nowhere to go. He'd open his phone some nights, type out a message, "I think I'm falling for you," then delete it, again and again. Because what if saying it meant losing everything they already had? So he stayed quiet and loved her silently. Through every late-night text, every shared song, every goodbye that lingered too long. It was beautiful, and it was breaking him slowly, because sometimes the loudest love is the one you never confess. Graduation was 2 weeks away. Campus was changing. Posters peeling, boxes stacked, memories fading. Nicholas and Linda sat beneath the old oak by the library, their usual spot. 2 coffee cups, one unspoken truth between them. The sky was turning gold, the kind of light that makes everything look softer, like the world is giving you one last perfect moment before it changes forever. Linda was talking about leaving, a job offer in another city, new beginnings, new people. Nicholas nodded, but inside, something cracked quietly. He wanted to tell her that every laugh, every late night, every small thing she did had become his favorite part of being alive. He opened his mouth, her name resting on his tongue like a prayer. Then her phone buzzed. She looked down, smiled, a friend calling her name from across the courtyard. And just like that, the moment was gone. She stood brushing leaves off her jeans, not noticing the war in his chest. "Don't forget me," she said, half joking. He forced a smile. "I couldn't if I tried." She laughed and walked away, sunlight catching her hair one last time. He watched her go, the words still burning on his lips. That night, Nicholas stayed up until dawn, every heartbeat whispering the same thing. "You should have told her." The campus didn't feel the same anymore. Posters for graduation, empty dorm rooms, laughter that carried a hint of goodbye. Nicholas walked those halls like he was counting memories. Each corner held a version of Linda, laughing by the vending machine, arguing over coffee flavors, singing off-key when she thought no one heard. Now, all of it felt like a movie that was about to end. She was everywhere, and soon she'd be nowhere near him. They still met up, but every moment felt borrowed, every smile like it knew it wouldn't last. Linda talked about her new apartment in the city, the job she'd start, the friends she'd make. Nicholas smiled through it, told her she'd do great, but every word felt like a lie, because he didn't want her to go. One night they sat by the fountain, the one that glittered under the campus lights. The air smelled like rain. Linda leaned her head on his shoulder. No words, just silence. And that silence said everything. He wanted to freeze it. That moment, that closeness, that quiet proof that maybe she felt it too. But the next morning, she started packing, and Nicholas realized he was running out of time. The night before graduation, the sky was heavy with rain. Nicholas sat by his window, hoodie on, phone in hand, heart loud enough to drown out the storm. Linda's suitcase was already packed. Tomorrow she'd leave, and he'd never get another chance. He opened his messages, her name glowing softly on the screen. He typed a few words, deleted them, tried again, deleted again. Then he pressed record. The sound of his breath filled the silence. For a moment he almost stopped. But the truth, it finally broke free. "Hey, it's me." A pause. "I don't really know how to say this, but I think I've loved you for a while now." He laughed quietly, the kind of laugh that hurts. "I don't expect anything. I just needed you to know. You made college feel like home. You made me feel seen." Rain hit the glass harder. His voice softened. "Anyway, goodbye, Linda. Be happy, okay?" He stopped recording, finger hovering over send. One tap, and everything would change. He stared at the screen. Minutes passed. Then he locked his phone. The message stayed there, and when the rain stopped, so did his chance. Graduation morning came, with sunlight that felt too bright for goodbyes. Students filled the courtyard, laughing, hugging, holding on like they could stop time. Nicholas found Linda near the gate, cap tilted, hair catching the breeze. She looked happy. The kind of happy that makes your chest ache. They hugged. "Too long for friends? Too brief for lovers. You'll visit, right?" she said. Her voice soft, almost hopeful. He nodded. Of course. But both of them knew he wouldn't. Her taxi pulled up. Trunk slammed shut. The driver asked, "All set?" Linda smiled. One last time, then she was gone. Nicholas stood there, phone in his pocket, the unsent voice note still waiting, a truth frozen in his drafts. That night, he played it once, not to send, just to remember what it felt like to be brave, even for a minute. Then he deleted it from his phone, or at least he thought he did. But the words stayed, echoing in his mind, over and over. You made college feel like home. He didn't know it then, but some words never really leave. Time didn't stop. It just became heavier. Months turned into years. New faces, new streets. But every now and then, Nicholas still caught himself looking for her in a crowd. He found her on social media once, smiling in a new city, different hair, same warmth in her eyes. He hovered over the follow button. Didn't press it. Didn't have to. Just seeing her happy was enough. And somehow not enough at all. He dated other people, went on trips, laughed when he could. But none of it felt real, like he was just living in between memories. Sometimes he'd play voice notes before sleeping, just random ones from work or friends. Each time he'd remember that night. The message he almost sent, the words he swallowed, the silence he chose. And in some strange way, that silence had become a part of him. One evening, he walked past a cafe. A song was playing, the same one Linda used to hum while studying. He stopped, listened, smiled, then walked away, pretending it didn't hurt anymore. But deep down, he knew the truth. Some stories don't end. They just fade and wait to be remembered again. Life became a rhythm. Wake, work, sleep, repeat. Nicholas moved to a new city, got a decent job, made small talk with strangers who never really knew him. The noise of adulthood was loud, but inside, he stayed quiet. He stopped checking her profile, stopped replaying old moments. At least that's what he told himself. But sometimes, when the world slowed down, when rain tapped softly on his window, her name would drift back, like a song he thought he'd forgotten. He'd wonder where she was, if she still took her coffee the same way, if she ever thought about that night by the library, the one where everything almost changed. Years folded into each other, friends married, families grew, and Nicholas remained the same, smiling on the outside, still carrying her name quietly inside. The voice note was gone, but not the memory of recording it. He could still remember every word, every pause, every breath between sentences. It was like a ghost, not haunting him, just staying close. And then, one afternoon, an email arrived. Subject: University Alumni Reunion, 10 years. He stared at the screen, heart still for a second. At the bottom of the invite, one name caught his eye: Linda Matthews, RSVP confirmed. The email sat unread for hours. Nicholas opened it, closed it, opened it again. 10 years, a decade since the fountain, since that smile, since the words he never sent. He told himself he wouldn't go. He wasn't that person anymore. He'd moved on. He had to have. But curiosity, that soft, dangerous kind, doesn't ask for permission. He clicked reply, typed, "Count me in," then hit send before he could change his mind. The reunion was in 2 weeks. Same campus, same halls, different people. That night he couldn't sleep. He scrolled through old photos, the ones from the last semester. There she was, Linda, leaning into the sun, eyes half closed, smiling like she wasn't afraid of anything. He wondered if she still remembered him. If she ever thought about that night, the one he tried to forget. 2 days before the reunion, his phone buzzed. A message request. He opened it. His heart stopped. Linda. "Hey, are you coming to the reunion? It'd be nice to see you again." He stared at the screen for a long time. 10 years of silence, suddenly alive again. He typed back, then paused. Maybe this was his second chance. The university looked smaller now. The buildings, older. The air, thick with memories. Nicholas walked across the courtyard, past the fountain where it all began. Same sound of water, same chill in the breeze. He could almost see his younger self there. Nervous, hopeful, still holding words he never said. The reunion was loud. Music, laughter, faces he barely remembered. Then through the noise, a voice. Soft, familiar, like a song he hadn't heard in years. He turned, and there she was. Linda. Different hair, more confident, but her eyes, still the same. For a second, neither of them spoke. 10 years collapsed into one heartbeat. "Hey, stranger," she said, smiling. It hit him like sunlight through glass. Warm, beautiful, dangerous. He smiled back, trying to hide how hard his hands were shaking. "You look the same," he said. She laughed. "You don't." They found a quiet corner away from the noise. Talked about jobs, friends, life. But beneath every word was the same silence they left behind. And as she looked at him, really looked, Nicholas wondered if she could still hear everything he never said. They met again the next day. Coffee, laughter, like no time had passed at all. Linda was leaving town tomorrow, so they walked around campus one last time. The library steps, the old oak, the cafe that still smelled like vanilla and rain. It felt like walking through ghosts. They stopped near the fountain, the same spot where he almost told her everything. Linda smiled softly. "You ever think about how different life could have been?" Nicholas hesitated. "Sometimes." She nodded. "I do too." She reached into her bag, pulled out an old phone, cracked, faded. "I was cleaning out some stuff before the trip," she said. This thing still had voice messages backed up. Some I'd never heard. Nicholas froze. A chill ran through him. Linda unlocked the screen, thumb hovering over a file. "It was from you," she said quietly. 10 years ago. He felt the world narrow. Rain, breath, silence. "I didn't send..." "I know," she whispered. But somehow it was saved. For a moment, they just stared at each other. Her eyes soft and breaking, His, full of everything he'd buried. "Do you want to hear it?" she asked. He swallowed hard. Part of him wanted to run. The other part had waited a decade for this. He nodded, slowly, and she pressed play. The sound was faint. Static. Then at his voice. Younger, softer, unsteady. "Hey, Linda?" He heard himself whisper from another lifetime. "If you're hearing this, I guess I never got the courage to tell you in person." Linda's eyes were fixed on the phone. Her lips trembled. "I've liked you since the first week. Since the library. Since you laughed at my broken umbrella." A sad smile touched her face. Tears gathered, quiet and real. "I know you're leaving soon," the recording continued. "And I'll probably never say this out loud. But I need you to know, you made this place feel like home." Nicholas couldn't breathe. It was like hearing his own ghost. The message ended with a pause. Then a quiet, broken whisper. "I love you. I just didn't know how to tell you." Silence. Linda's hand trembled as she held the phone. Her breath uneven, her eyes glistening in the fading light. Nicholas looked away, ashamed, vulnerable, exposed. For 10 years, that message sat buried in forgotten data. And now it was here, loud, raw, alive. Linda's voice cracked. "I waited, for weeks. For something. Anything." Nicholas closed his eyes. "I know," he whispered. "I was scared." She looked at him, and for a second, it felt like time forgave them both. The night air was cold. The fountain lights shimmered against the water. Soft, golden, and sad. They sat there in silence, the phone still between them, neither knowing what to say next. Linda finally spoke. 10 years, Nicholas. Her voice barely above a whisper. 10 years for words I would have said yes to. He felt every syllable like a blade. "I know. It's just, I wasn't ready to lose and still stay." She nodded slowly, eyes glistening under the lamplight. "I wasn't either." A pause. A long one. The kind that feels heavier than sound. "I thought about you," she said softly. "Every time it rained. Every time I passed a coffee shop window. Every time I tried to love someone new." Nicholas looked up. Eyes wet. Voice shaking. "I thought I'd moved on. But hearing that message, it feels like I never did." She smiled, fragile but real. "Maybe we were never supposed to forget." The wind picked up. Leaves rustled like quiet applause. Linda stood, wrapping her coat tighter. "I leave in the morning," she said. "This time I won't expect you to stop me." Nicholas rose too. Words formed and then broke. He wanted to say stay. He wanted to say, "I still love you." But silence said it louder. She gave him one last look. Soft, lingering, full of everything they were and weren't. "Goodbye, Nicholas." He watched her walk away, each step echoing in his chest. Only when she disappeared into the crowd did he whisper to the empty night, "It was never goodbye." A year passed, then another. The seasons kept changing, but the memory of that night never did. Nicholas rebuilt his life, quietly this time. No noise, no rush, just slow mornings, small wins, and peace he never knew he needed. He stopped waiting for closure. He stopped checking his phone. He just lived, until one rainy afternoon. He ducked into a bookstore to escape the storm. The smell of coffee and paper filled the air. Then, a voice behind him. Soft, familiar. "Still chasing storms, huh?" He froze. Turned. Linda. Hair shorter. Smile warmer. Eyes exactly the same. For a moment, the world forgot to breathe. She held a book in her hands. A poetry collection he once loved. "I didn't think I'd see you here," she said. He laughed quietly. "Me neither." They stood there, surrounded by shelves and rain. No speeches this time. No unfinished words. Just two people who had finally learned how to meet without fear. Linda stepped closer. "Do you still believe in timing?" Nicholas looked at her, smiling through the ache. "I do now." She nodded, eyes soft. "Good, because I think we finally got it right." Outside, the rain slowed. Light broke through the clouds. And for the first time in a long time, neither of them felt like they were running anymore. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't dramatic. It was real. Two hearts. Finally, home.